Let's get a definition of what a cult is.
A system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. A misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing.
Hono Hana, or Yorikobi Kazoku no Wa. The 30,000-member Japanese organization was led by Hogen Fukunaga, who claims he can see someone's past and future by looking at their feet, according to the Japan Times. Accused Fukunaga of exploiting people's fears and swindled $1.3 million from 30 followers. Church of Euthanasia. From spinning records to cult leader, the Church of Euthanasia was founded in 1992 by software developer and DJ Chris Korda. In 1995, Korda created a suicide assistance hotline to help Americans kill themselves. During the 1990s, the church even appeared on The Jerry Springer Show. The church still has a website, though it's hard to tell how dangerous the organization is today, and Korda seems to have moved on to 3D printing. Order of the Solar Temple. In Geneva in 1984, the Solar Temple was founded by Luc Jarret, a homeopathic physician, and New Age lecturer Joseph de Mombro. The central teaching of the Solar Temple was that the Earth would face some sort of apocalyptic event in the mid-1990s. 53 members of the Solar Temple were murdered or committed suicide in Canada and Switzerland on October 4th and 5th, 1994, and the buildings in which they died were set on fire. Rajneesh, or Osho cult. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, also known as Osho, began a spiritual movement in 1970, which was an odd mix of capitalism, meditation, and open sexuality. His followers tried to take over the Wasco County government by poisoning the entire town, contaminating salad bars and local restaurants.
The Lord said we're supposed to watch out for them. And we're going to get that in the book of Romans chapter 16, verse 17.
The book of Romans chapter 16, verse 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them.
Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. In the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 13, he says, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee.
Cult. In modern English, a cult is a social group that is defined by its unusual religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, or its common interest in a particular personality, object, or goal.
The Children of God. In 1968, David Berg started the Children of God, a cult that was described in an article for The Guardian as devoting themselves to the worship of Jesus Christ and promiscuous sex. Berg announced that female members should have sex with men so as to convert them. He named this practice flirty fishing. It was religious prostitution. The Manson Family. Charles Manson is best known for being a serial killer, but when you look at cults online, his name consistently comes up. This is because in 1967, he organized a group of followers under the name the Manson Family. On August 1969, Manson ordered his followers to carry out a twin set of killings, including that of film director Roman Polanski's pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, and supermarket executive Leno LaBianca. The Fizrahmanist movement. A self-proclaimed prophet had a vision from God. He would build an Islamic caliphate under the Russian city of Kazan. The digging began in the early 2000s, and 70 followers soon moved into an 8-level subterranean labyrinth of cramped cells with no light, heat, or ventilation.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressively that in the latter times, it's talking about now, and it's talking about you Christian church. All of you Christians, y'all need to come out of it. Look at what the Bible's saying about you. That in latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits. Come on, let's commit abortion. Come on, let's have illicit sex. Let's do crazy drugs, or worse even, let's not obey God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Those are seducing spirits and doctrines of devil. If it's not of God, it's of Satan. Speaking lies in hypocrisy, meaning that they say one thing and they do the other. They tell you don't use drugs and they use drugs. They tell you don't worship money, and they worship money. That's how a lot of these Christian churches are, especially these big, expensive ones with the multi-millionaire past, having their consciousness seared with a hot iron. In the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 13, he says, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. Now, what classifies something as a cult? A cult is a small group or movement held together by a shared commitment to a charismatic leader or ideology. It has a belief system that has the answers to all of life's questions and offers a special solution to be gained only by following the leader's rules.
The Branch Davidians. The FBI was attempting to arrest leader David Koresh and so raided the group's 77-acre complex when they began to exchange heavy gunfire at the site. The standoff ended when agents in armored vehicles raided the building, but a fire, which witnesses claim Koresh set himself, broke out and engulfed the complex. Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was an American UFO religious cult based in San Diego, California. It was founded in the early 1970s by Marshall Applewhite, a Texas music teacher, and Bonnie Nettles, a nurse. They met during a stay in a psychiatric institution. In March 1997, 39 members, including Applewhite, wearing black tracksuits and sneakers, ate applesauce laced with barbiturates and washed it down with vodka. They then lay down with bags over their heads, wearing purple shrouds. They died believing their bodies would be transported to a UFO traveling in the tail of the Hale-Bopp comet to the People's Temple Agricultural Project, better known as Jonestown, a remote settlement established by the People's Temple, an American cult under the leadership of Reverend Jim Jones in North Guyana. November 18, 1978, when 918 people died in a mass murder and suicide pact.
The book of 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1, I charge thee therefore before Yahweh and the Lord, Hamashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fable.
The book of Hebrews chapter 13, verse 9. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats which have not profited them that have been occupied therein.
Book of 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
In the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 13, he says, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. We're going to talk about the biggest cult there is in the world. So let's go ahead and put the Christian church on trial right now. The Christians do not keep the commandments, whereas the Israelites keep the commandment. The Christians obey only the Apostle Paul. Why? Because it's only in the epistles of Paul. You know why Paul was careful about what he wrote? Because the Romans looked at the writing, and if he said anything that would get him in trouble, he would be killed. So he was careful about what he wrote. And he wanted it to be clear that we no longer have to do animal sacrifices as described in the book of Hebrews.
8. Above when he said, sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offering for sin thou wouldest not, neither hadst pleasure therein, which are offered by the law.
Because we're now under the grace of Yahweh. But the Christians, they find scriptures that say law is dead, and they don't tell you the truth that only the law of sacrifice is dead, not the laws are dead. They say the law is dead, the law of sacrifice. They use the death of Christ to justify their
disobedience
to the Most High God. The Israelites follow Christ. The Christians refuse to keep the Lord's laws, statutes, and commandments. The Israelites read the entire Bible. The Christians copycat and obey the doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church. The Israelites keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. You say, Christian, according to Paul in the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 4, for Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. But watch this. It said the end of the law, not the end of the laws. You have ceremonial law, civil law, dietary laws, sacrificial laws, and moral laws. Well, guess what's dead? The sacrificial laws. All the other laws still exist. So while you busy looking at that, you'll say to yourself, the law is dead. I can do whatever I want. But look at what the Lord says. The book of John, chapter 14, verse 15. If ye love me, keep my commandments.